Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about the domino effect. Specifically, how a conflict happening thousands of miles away can set off this crazy chain reaction that ends up hitting you right in your wallet. We'll use a hypothetical crisis to see exactly how it works. It's a fair question, right? How can something happening so far away actually change the price of my groceries? Well, it all comes down to this chain reaction. So let's get into it, starting with that very first spark, the one that lights the fuse.
So, let's set the scene. We're talking about a crisis, a hypothetical one but totally plausible, kicking off in early 2026, and it's all happening in one of the world's most critical shipping lanes.
And man, things escalate fast. Look at this timeline. February 28th, you've got strikes on Iran. Iran hits back, immediately. But the real earthquake, the move that sent shockwaves through the global economy, that happened just a couple of days later, on March 2nd, when they shut down the Strait of Hormuz.
This is a great way to think about it. It really is like a single motorway for about 20% of all the oil in the world. And somebody just parked a giant truck sideways across all the lanes. There's no B road, no easy detour. A blockage right here means an instant, worldwide traffic jam for a huge chunk of our oil. Okay, so you've got this physical blockage. Now, let's watch what happens next, because this is where the first domino falls. And trust me, it falls fast and hard. And the impact was, wow, just staggering. We're talking about the price of oil nearly doubling in just a few weeks. Think about that. From $61 a barrel to $118. That's the biggest jump we've seen in nearly 4 decades. This wasn't just a little market flutter. It was a full-blown earthquake for energy prices. And here's the thing. Even after they announced a ceasefire, it didn't really matter. The damage was done. The fear, the uncertainty, that's what keeps the prices high. The U.S. Navy is still telling ships to stay away, so the market is spooked. That economic poison is already in the system, and that shockwave is already moving. Okay, so this is where it starts to get personal. How does that big, scary number for a barrel of oil, something you and I never actually buy, start to creep into our everyday lives? Well, it ripples out and ends up on your receipt at the grocery store. I love this analogy from the source material. It's just perfect. It's like food poisoning. You stop eating the bad shrimp, but you don't instantly feel better, right? The poison is already in your system. It's the same thing here. The conflict might be over, but the economic pain is just getting started on its journey to you. So here's the path it takes. Step 1. Oil prices shoot up. That immediately makes production more expensive. Think fertilizer for our food, plastics for, well, everything. Then, step 2. Shipping costs go through the roof because guess what? Trucks, ships, planes, they all run on fuel. And by the time that bag of chips or bottle of soda gets to your local store, all those extra costs have been baked in. And who pays for it? Yep, we do. So while we're all feeling that pinch in our own budgets, businesses are getting hit with their own version of this crisis. And when businesses start to hurt, you know what's next? The job market. They call it the sandwich squeeze, and it's pretty brutal. Imagine this. On one side, the cost of just keeping the lights on and getting their products to market is going up and up. But on the other side, their customers, us, are spending less because our bills are going up. It's a lose-lose. And what's really scary is the timing of all this. It couldn't be worse. Even before this whole mess, the job market was already looking shaky. Hiring had slowed way down to levels we hadn't seen since the big financial crisis in 2008. So you take an already weak job market and then dump a massive oil shock on top of it? Yeah, that's like pouring fuel on a fire. So let's recap. Prices are going up, the economy is slowing down. That right there is a toxic mix. It's a complete nightmare for policymakers, and it has a name: stagflation. And stagflation is basically the worst of all possible worlds. Your grocery bill is climbing, but at the very same time, the economy is struggling, and companies are thinking about layoffs. It's a really painful economic trap to be in. So, why is it such a nightmare to fix? Well, think about a normal recession. The economy slows down, but usually prices fall, which gives people a bit of a break. With stagflation, the economy slows down, but prices keep going up, and the usual fixes don't work. If you raise interest rates to fight rising prices, you could crash the economy. It's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. The problem is, the government's toolkit is looking pretty empty this time around. They can't just slash interest rates like they did back in '08. That would just pour more fuel on the inflation fire. And with the huge national debt we're carrying, just printing more money is a seriously risky bet. The old playbook, it just doesn't work here. And get this, the source material points to something pretty chilling. There's this AI model from Moody's with a perfect 80-year track record. Every single time it has crossed a 50% chance of recession, it's been right. Well, just before our hypothetical conflict started, that model was already sitting at 49%. The warning lights were already blinking red.
Okay, let's bring all of this back down to earth. Because as you know, an economic crisis never hits everyone the same way. The impact is definitely not shared equally.
Just look at these numbers. For low-income families, a third, a full 33% of their income goes just to food. For a middle-income family, it's more like 13%. So when the price of food and gas spikes, it's a completely different reality. For one family, it's an inconvenience. For the other, it's a full-blown crisis.
So what about government assistance? Well, the source talks about a leaky bucket. And what that means is during the last energy crisis, you had these giant corporations making hundreds of billions in unexpected profits. And where did most of that money go? 84% of it went straight to shareholders, not to lower prices for you and me. The help that's supposed to get to the bottom often leaks out at the top. And all of this leaves us with one big final question. This whole chain reaction, from a single event halfway across the world, right down to the price tag on a gallon of milk, it really shows you the cracks in the system. It makes you wonder, when the whole system gets stressed like this, who really ends up feeling the pressure the most?